Ooh. It's definitely winter. It's rather beautiful though. But at least it's dry. Hurrah! Oh. Right. Stop dilly-dallying in the park. Let's get to the garden and do some work. I'm starting to shiver. Just about to say it was the day after frost, and all through the plots not a creature was stirring, not even the fox. But right on cue, fox crossing my path. Actually, the trees look beautiful this morning. It's quite early. I mean, well, it's not really early. It's about 9 o'clock. This fog is just lifting now. A frosty fog, not a frog, but that one can almost taste. Oh, that is gorgeous, isn't it? I think what it is partly is that the trees the trees are the stars of the show, and the fog helps to blur the edges with the buildings. We can almost pretend the buildings aren't there. The occasional sound of rooks cawing. Other birds, I think, are just starting to wake up and fluff their feathers. Oh, goodness me, I'm very, very behind on the work. Yes, it's very chilly today. It's currently about 1 degree centigrade. It might still be 0 now. We're probably up to 1 degrees now. So it's definitely a day for getting on. Keep the body moving. Don't hang about. Right, let's get stuck into some work. Trying to get the bean poles down. Everything's really wet. We've had so much rain this autumn. So all the string has swollen. It's really hard to even get in there with my, I know, ridiculous, pathetic little pair of scissors. But, yeah, needs must and all that. me bring you closer so we can chat as I work. That's better. I don't have to shout. I really don't want to shout today because, well, I was going to say it's so quiet, but there seem to be tons of planes today. Otherwise, it's really quiet. Have I just cursed myself? Anyway, yeah, now you might think, Vivi, you're a bit mad going down there today. It's freezing. It's definitely freezing. But the fact is, I've hardly had a chance this autumn because of so much rain. It's been really, a ridiculous amount of rain. And it's dry today, so yeah, take my opportunity. Also, I've missed being out here. So I just thought, you know what? It's dry, the work needs doing. Wrap up, I've got tons of layers on. Someone said to me in the previous garden video, you need a coat, Vivi. Actually, I'm fine. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got six layers on top. 2 downstairs. Got my titfer, my scarf. I'm already starting to feel really quite warm. So, knowing that it's going to be cold today, I've also, the jobs I've got planned, I don't know how much I'm going to get through because, it is cold, and there comes a point when it gets in your bones. Never mind gets in your bones, it gets in your feet, doesn't it? I keep forgetting to buy some insulated insoles for my wellies. I will do. So I've basically planned my jobs today around jobs which require me to just keep moving somewhat. Move. Right, have I cut all my strings? Just to say as well, I always use organic string, whether it's cotton, jute, hemp, whatever. I use organic string so that then, and also from a natural fibre. So any that drops on the soil, I don't have to worry about, picking through to find it, to remove it, unlike, say, if you were using plastic cable ties. So any that drops on the soil, fine, it can all just rot in situ. Now the fun bit, remove the poles. Yeah, it all feels very, very wet. Wet and cold. But it's great to be out. That's the main thing, isn't it? Is like I was chatting about in that Hurrah video, I do give myself permission to stay at home and stay cosy. But there comes a point in every girl's life when she's just got to get outside again. And there's something beautiful about this. The quiet. Oh, I think I need my stick. The stillness. When I've got a pole out, any remaining plant on it, I'll simply scoot it up the pole, not down the pole, up the pole, because the pole gets narrower. If I go down the pole, it gets wider, and therefore the material gets tighter and then grips the pole. So go up over the top, and it scoots off really easily. Yeah, I think this time of year in the garden, there's something really special about it because it's the quiet. I'm sure it's mostly to do with the quiet. There's not another soul on site today. So it's that specialness of having the whole garden to myself. Not just my garden, but on days like today I can pretend everyone's garden is my garden because there's no one here. Although I don't want to pretend I have to do all the work. It feels at this time of year like it's just for nature now. This isn't for us humans. Gosh, those aeroplanes. So much for the quiet. Yeah, it feels like the time of year when nature, wildlife gets to reclaim the garden, and this is now the playground for the animals and the birds, not for us humans. I wonder what foxes eat in winter. There are always so many birds around. There's some good food sources for them here. It's something to think about. It's like I was mentioning in the tree video the other day, that when we're planting our gardens, even allotment gardens, but when we're planting, we can have a half a mind on wildlife when we're planting. So if it was my own garden, my own back garden, things like that rowan tree, the mountain ash. Oh, I think that bean pole's seen better days. Hold on. Oh, bean's still in the ground. No, I'm not going to overwinter my beans, by the way. Yeah, just thinking about which of our shrubs and trees produce berries which the birds like to eat in the winter. And it makes sense to... Oh, hold on a sec. It makes sense to opt for native species because, of course, if it's a native species of tree, then our native bird species are probably going to like it. We don't want to give them any foreign food. They don't like foreign food. Likewise, when we do our tidy up at the end of the year, well, at the end of autumn, we don't have to worry about being too tidy. We can leave seed heads on things like the verbena because the goldfinches love it. We can leave piles of leaf litter, especially, especially if you can leave a pile of leaf litter in an undisturbed part of the garden, and a part of the garden that's going to remain undisturbed, so that year after year after year it's undisturbed. Then, for instance, some of our bees will get into leaf litter to hibernate for the winter. I don't know if hedgehogs go into leaf piles, probably do. But yeah, don't be in a hurry to clear up too much, says she, having a clear up day. I just want to get the poles out of the ground, so they're not going to be sopping all winter. Of course, with the birds, put up bird feeders. Last time I was... Sounds like someone's putting their ash in their ash bin from their fire last night. It's funny how... so many aeroplanes. I was going to say, it's funny how sounds change as well, isn't it, on a day like today? I wonder if they've changed the flight path for some reason. This is an inordinate amount of planes. What was I saying? Oh yeah, bird feeders. So the last time I was here, it was about a week ago, and I was taking down the bean poles from over there, getting those beds cropped and dropped and covered. Again, it was a day where I was on my own. I mean, I wasn't here all day. I was here from about 9 till 12. No one around until just towards the end of the morning. My neighbour Catherine turned up. She was here purely to fill her bird feeders. So the thing about bird feeders to remember is two things. One, make sure the container is clean. The containers need cleaning every now and again. What Catherine does is, sort of once a week when she's doing her top-up of all the feeders, she takes one of the feeders home to give it a really good scrub, brings it back to the front. She's got tons of feeders there. But yeah, they need cleaning. But the really important thing is once you start to put food out, you kind of need to keep it up, because once the birds find it, once they find your source of food for them, they'll come to rely on it, and they'll keep coming back, and they'll keep coming back. So don't put a bit out one week and then, or, you know, don't be putting it out every week for a month and then suddenly just stop. Because, yeah, poor little birds will be like, where's our food gone? Where do we go now? Yeah, so be consistent. And that's why I need to take them out of the ground, because when they're in the ground, they start to rot, and then they get brittle and break off. Yeah, you can think about all sorts of different types of feed as well for all sorts of different birds. I think one of the best things to do is wherever you are. I'm steaming my glass. It's so cold. My breath is steaming my glasses. Whatever country you're in, you will probably have some sort of organisation that's about the birds. So for us in the UK, it's the RSPB. The Royal Society for the Protection of Birds. If you go onto one of their websites, there is probably a guide for winter feeding, different types, so whether it's seeds, peanuts, fat, mealworms, that sort of thing, for all the different types of birds for your area. Have a little look. Oh, and actually, just mentioning the RSPB now, hang on, reaching in for this pole. Once I've see, that's another one's just sheared off at the base. Once I've, obviously all this material that I'm scooting off the tops of the poles, I'm going to grab my stool in a minute and sit and chop. Sitting, don't want to sit too long, but I'm going to grab one of the blankets from the shed and my stool, put the blanket over me, quickly chop, 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 chop. It won't take too long. I was about to say something. What was I saying? Birds. Oh yeah, birds and RSPB. The other thing is, where are we now? We're in December, and in January each year, the RSPB have their bird watch. What's it called? The Great British Bird Watch. I can't remember what it's called. Sorry, I'm a bit useless, aren't I? But I think probably if you go online now, you'll see details, and it'll tell you which weekend it's being run over. If you're the kind of person that you like paper in front of you, like if you're doing it with kids or grandchildren, you maybe want a paper copy so the kids can, sort of write and draw on it. That's also going to be on the RSPB's website, I would imagine now. So have a little look for that. And get yourselves ready for the lovely bird watch in January. And of course, if you start putting out food now for them, to supplement any food that's in the garden anyway, berries, seed heads, that sort of thing, if you start putting out food now, you might encourage more birds into your garden in time for the bird watch. Right, nearly done, and then it'll be time to stash the poles, get on with the stuff down there. Treading just a little bit tentatively because it's quite slippy underfoot. I suppose that's something else to sort of mention, be aware of, isn't it? At this time of year when we're coming to our gardens, it's not a soul around. I'm here on my own, so I've made sure, I don't always do it, I've got my telephone in my pocket, wedged in with my hanky. I'm not wishing the worst on myself, but it's just that thing of, if I was to slip, hold on, two of these poles are escaping. If I was to slip, I don't know, just something silly like twisting an ankle, twisting a knee, I can call for help. Like I said, not that I anticipate that. I've just realised I've put these beam poles, I'll show you. I've actually accidentally, I wonder if you're going to be able to see from there. Let's see what you're seeing. You're going to be on the wonk now. I've put them over and through the rose. I don't really want to do that to the rose. That day when I was clearing the brambles and some of the overhanging stuff from this path to make it accessible for me to put the beam poles, what I haven't done is tackle the grass. And it's really long now, and I did kind of, I had a bit of a trip when I was putting the other beam poles away. So that's a job that can wait till the spring though. Right, time to chop the dropped crop. And just enjoy this quiet with dog barking in distance. It's really beautiful though. There's hardly a breath of wind today. It's actually really pleasant. I think partly it's just a change from grey because of rain. It's kind of, I should be saying it's grey today. It's not that it's grey, it's that this fog mist is hanging around. It's kind of a bit spooky too. So I'm just going to sit here for half an hour or so, quietly, snipping up debris. My secateurs need sharpening. I think I'll take them home with me today, otherwise, it just makes every task more tiresome, doesn't it, when your tools aren't in good order. That's the other thing at this time of year, isn't it? It's not just about tidying the garden, but maybe thinking about our tools too. I would have thought that the majority of you are way ahead of me in your gardens at this stage. I've just hardly been here, but so it may be that you've done all your clearing up of the garden, you've done all your, for example, one of my other jobs, I planned it for today. I'll see how I go, but it's to empty the compost bins onto some of these beds, which are, in terms of crop and drop, they are bare because they're the beds that had the squash in. So when the squash was harvested, there was very little plant matter left to crop and drop. So emptying the compost bins. But otherwise you may have cut back all your dead stuff already. You may have, hopefully you've tidied away your bean poles. Any empty pots that are lying around, you've gathered up and tidied up, and they're already sort of stacked and in size order, etc., ready for the spring, ready for that big push. So it's a great time of year to just think about all your equipment as well, in terms of do things need sharpening. My secateurs definitely do edges of blades need cleaning. So for instance, if you use a spade for, if you like to dig still, does the edge of your, it almost certainly will after a season, give the edge of your I was going to say sword, it's not a sword, your spade, give the edge of that a sharpen and a clean. All your tools, do they need cleaning, and then giving a bit of an oil if you're going to put them away now for the next, it may be that you're putting things away now for 3 or 4 months. So yeah, put them away clean and sharp, ready for action. And with things like the pots, I know I'm quite fastidious with my pots, and they are all arranged and kept in size order. Apart from anything, when they're all the same size, they stack. You can stack many, many more in the same space. If they're all higgledy-piggledy, you can have the whole surface of the shed covered in myriad pots. But actually, if you stack them all in the same size as each other, you could squish that down to maybe a quarter of the surface. So I do it partly as a space-saving thing, partly because I'm a neat freak, let's face it. But also it just means that, when it comes to seed time next year, it's so busy, isn't it? We have this wonderful lull over the winter, and maybe a sort of a false sense of security of like, yeah, this gardening lark is easy, isn't it? I only have to pop down once a week for a couple of hours, yeah. And then we get to March, and suddenly it feels like every spare minute of the day is taken up with seed sowing, bed prep, and on and on and on, transplanting, thinning, whatever. So yeah, anything to make life a bit easier come the spring and the March madness, all the better. And let's face it, having those sorry, I've made a right tangle, I just dumped them all in a pile. Having those little jobs to do in the shed, like sorting your pots, sharpening tools, whatever it is, it's a good excuse to pop down to your garden, isn't it? I know I was saying about giving myself permission to stay indoors and stay warm, but I do like over the winter to come down here at least once a week. I mean, I'll come down once a week anyway for a bit of harvesting, but I actually like having a couple of bits and bobs of jobs to do throughout the winter. Keeps me coming. And also, it's, especially if I plan those jobs, if I plan to do them at the weekend, there's a chance by doing that I'll bump into some of my fellow potters and we can stop and have a little chat. Because I think if you garden communally, it's one of the joys of gardening communally is all your friends and having chats, isn't it? And we know what it's like in high summer. We're all chatting over our plots to each other as we're picking yet more tomatoes, etc. But come the winter, one can go weeks and weeks without seeing each other. Give yourself a list of shed jobs to give yourself the excuse to keep popping back. Keep seeing your friends and keep topping up your bird feeders if you've got bird feeders in your allotment space. I haven't actually got any bird feeders in the garden at the moment, just because I'm having to guard my money a bit. So, yeah, feed me, but not the birds at the moment. Having said that, though, there are a few bits and pieces left in my garden for the birds in terms of plants, and I'm surrounded by plots. I mean, like Catherine's just over there, which is, as I was saying earlier, chock full of feeders. It's brilliant. Put it this way, any birds that are light in this little area, they're not going to go hungry. Okay, this is taking me forever, but that's okay. I'm still Whoopla, I'm still warm enough. That's the main thing. So I think what I'm going to do, I could just wax lyrical all day on a day like today, but I really shouldn't keep you much longer. So I'm going to carry on with this. But for now, I'm going to say cheerio to you all. I hope your gardens are, I know for some of you, well, a lot of you, I know your gardens got packed up ages ago and they'll be under goodness knows how many feet of snow, and you just won't be going back out there till, for some of you, it won't be till April, possibly even May. But for those of us in the UK and other places where it's considerably milder, yeah, keep popping down there. Give yourself an excuse to get out. Even if you've got nothing to harvest, keep going to your space. Stay connected with it throughout this winter so that it won't be such a shock in the spring. Get your shed jobs done. But more than anything, just be there and enjoy days like today. Enjoy the quiet. All right, lovelies, look after yourselves. Cheerio.